Hello, hello, and good whenever and wherever you are in the world here. Today we're on Speed Gaming 4, bringing you some Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament action. We've got a round 2 bracket matchup between Linlinlin and saltyphry. saltyphry took a 2-0 win over Hayfield Bay in round 1. Linlinlin took a 2-0 win over Magnet Hands in round 1. And here we are. Game 1 of this best of 3 between them. So calling this match tonight, I'm Reg. I'm joined by Drossi. So Drossi, what are you going to be looking for here between these two?
Well, one thing about watching a Linlinlin match is the early game's always interesting because he always puts off Kakariko. It's just his meta. So that's what I'm first going to be wondering about. Like, will that pay off? I'm assuming saltyphry knows that about Lin, so he's going to make sure to check Kakariko first. And it'll be interesting to see, whether this creates divergence or they just get funneled into the same thing.
Yeah, I love me good early Kakariko skip route, really. It's one of those things that you can see the thought process behind it, trying to look for like flute or bottled to minimize the number of times you've got to visit the village in the early game. And you're trading that for a dense set of checks in Kakariko, like 15 items in total, give or take?
Yeah, and of course, then, if the boots show up in Mini Moldorm Cave, suddenly you're able to run to CAC when you finally go there. Conversely, the boots are in CAC, your opponent's doing a lot of running.
Yep, so it's a gamble in the truest sense, really.
Well, that's a nice find.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, that means we're going to be a bit less concerned about finding bombs because the runners know that they can always just go back to the back of escape whenever they get bombs.
Yep. We did see Lin pull that rock out in front of Link's house, which that rock has a 50-50 chance of having a bomb, but he didn't try to farm it. He just went once and went. Saw that map check as well. Looked like all crystals to me.
Yeah, and looked like all regular crystals at that. Well, there are the bombs.
Yeah. Bombs are a fine start. I know that given how restrictive they are and how kind of difficult they can be to time. Oh, well then.
Okay. So forget what I was saying about boots. We can run anywhere.
Yep. Boots cut out the need for the bomb farming as well, and then just for the extra little kicker on top, we saw a drop on saltyphry's side. The guards are in the bomb pack. Like, just what is this seed?
Well, I'm sure they'd like a better weapon.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Although I'm curious because bomb strats are generally very specific and practiced, so I'm wondering what both of these guys are going to pull out here, because there is a variety of things you can do.
Yeah, I mean, this room that they're both in, like, you love seeing really experienced runners just kind of go automatic with how they plant the bombs to get rid of the blue guard.
Yeah, and we saw on both sides there, they used different placements for the bombs, but it was the same fundamental idea. Use the explosion from one bomb to knock the guard into the other, and that's your kill. And that's the sort of thing that I like seeing bomb start a lot as a viewer, just to see what kind of things the runners pull out here.
And now different strats there. Like with the green guard room, Lin went all kamikaze. But now we got a sword, so we're all good.
Yeah, and if you're going to get another weapon in escape after a bomb start, that's a pretty good place to get it. You get to show off what you've got for pretty much everything but the key rat, and then you don't have to worry about that key rat.
And we know we've got plenty of bombs.
Yep. saltyphry actually got 8, I'm guessing he picked up a couple drops at Lin did.
Oh!
That's brutal.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering why saltyphry was kind of going in there so brazenly, but yeah, that's gonna cost him.
Yeah, boots make it not quite the end of the world there, since he doesn't have to redo the kill rooms. Actually, I think he's got to rekill that one green guard. Not sure. But
Yeah,
regardless,
I think so.
yeah, it's a lot of time lost early, which you hate to see in a race.
Yeah, so it's got to be at least a minute because I think Lynn picked up Zelda at about the 3 minute mark, and Fry, I can't imagine him picking up Zelda before the 4 minute mark. And then there's, the psychological effect. This is a high stakes race; it can throw you off kilter.
Yeah, which let's look at how saltyphry approaches really the rest of the early game here. See if he's able to recover his mental and just keep back on top of it. Because this is still definitely early enough in the race that if he were to lose a close one, it would feel really bad. But you can't really point to this and say this was it. We've still got probably about another hour 20, hour 30 on average of game to play. It's a lot of time to make that up.
Yeah, I mean, if it does turn out really close, well, that was about a minute 20 right there.
Yeah, but so many other things you can point to in a typical race as well that
Oh, absolutely.
you want to see Fry recover and just play his game here, not get thrown off by it.
One thing we should mention is in the last tournament, I was going to say last year's, but it was a bit more than a year ago. Both of these runners exited here in the second round, so one of them is going to do better than they did last year.
I'm sure both of them want to be the one for sure because the level of play in the community goes up pretty much every year. But being able to just show some improvement in terms of tangible results always feels really good. And you don't want to feel like you're not getting better.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we got the hammer in back of Escape there, so we're a moon pearl away from Dark World access already.
Yeah, that's... I wonder, you said earlier that Lin loves his Kakariko skip. And really, there's two ways to look at it here. Go to Kakariko, because that's your most dense location. Pearl is most likely to be there. And then you can go up right into the village if you want. Or skip it, hope that it's just not there, and then you can just route it south to north straight into the village.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Like, if you find it in Dam or Mini Moldorm Cave, do you, after checking them, kind of circle around and do Hype Cave while you're there?
Yeah, that's an interesting one too, especially if it's Mini Moldorm Cave. Because putting off that 5-item location, a bit more difficult than walking back from there to that Dark World portal, at least in my view.
Oh, and this is interesting. Lynn decides, even though he has the boots, he's not going to check Lumberjack. That's a bit unusual.
Yeah, normally at this point in a race like this, we're talking about how runners like putting off the Lumberjack until they have the boots, but we have them here, so get the opposite instead.
Right, I don't know if he's waiting for, like, logical AGA access before he checks Lumberjack, but, with the boots in the area, it's a pretty quick check.
What he could be doing here is checking that... Okay, so he is doing this. He was checking that mushroom spot item, and I thought it was weird that he did the drop down into the thief hideout first. But he's doing that. He checked the mushroom spot item. Checking Lumberjack here, gonna go up the mountain.
And the mushroom spot item was money, so I'm a little bit surprised he didn't take it.
Especially since it was either 100 or 300. I saw the 2 zeros, but I couldn't see the first digit.
I only saw 1 0 at the end. But I'll take your word that there was a second.
Pretty sure there was. It looked like 2 to me.
And speaking of money, that's all Lumberjack had, so we're not going to beat Aga for that reason. So as long as the Moon Pearl isn't on or locked by Pyramid Ledge, we've got an Aga-free seed for the first time today.
Sounds good to me. There's a lot of just intrigue and skill involved in climbing the tower, but as far as checks and routing go, it's not a very exciting place to be.
And it also makes the overworld enemies, the light world overworld enemies, so much nastier. Oh, it was 10 arrows.
Oh, I may have seen the other edge of that one and thought it was a 0 or something. I don't know. But I do want to mention what Lynn did right there. When you've got super speed and you're like climbing up one of those stairs or ladders that's not automatic, like the one on the mountain, you go faster if you're carrying something. So he carried a bomb up to keep most of his speed going up there and climb those stairs significantly faster.
Yeah, and that's a relatively new tech. I've only seen people really start doing it in the last few months.
I feel like I've seen it as kind of a fringe thing for I want to say since before I started playing even, and that's been a couple years now, but I do agree it's only really become something that it feels like everybody started doing recently. And it is a very if you've got excess bombs, I should say, it is a pretty convenient way to save a few seconds there.
And there's Kane of Samaria and Blind's Hut, our first pickup in CAC, but not something that we need immediately, so that doesn't hurt Lynn. He'll get it eventually, and certainly before he needs it.
And there's the bottle, so the CAC skip route paying out a little bit if we don't see one on saltyphry side soon.
Yeah, and red goo's always nice to find in it, too.
Yeah, you were talking about Mario, and I agree. It doesn't do anything for us now, but you love to find that early just so that you know you have it before Mire, Turtle Rock, even Ice Palace, really.
Oh, well, there's the bottle in CAC. Oh, and there's the Moon Pearl, so that may also work out for Lynn. When he does go to CAC, he can then immediately use the portal.
Yeah, and he'll have a Master Sword when he gets there, because we did see that on saltyphry's side, so he won't be hurting for offensive capability if he decides to dive right into the Dark World after doing CAC.
Oh, nice chicken clip by saltyphry.
Nice little medallion there, too. Is a bit of extra offensive oomph since we've got a sword to use it.
Not only do we have a sword, we have a Master Sword. That well was stacked.
Yeah, CAC paying out pretty well, but no Moon Pearl.
Fire Rod, anyone? Okay, guess we'll find out whether we want to do Skull Woods after this. Once both runners have done all their checks here.
Yeah, I would not be surprised, even on 5 hearts, you might get a 6th in the village. I wouldn't be surprised to see Lynn jump right in once he gets to the Dark World, assuming it's a crystal. But we do see Lynn here did his water walk, skipped the Hylia Island check, skipped Hobo as well, but he can get back to that slightly more conveniently.
That was a vanilla red boomerang.
Yeah. There's like red boomerang's actually interesting because in addition to there's another vanilla spot for it in the Dark World.
Yeah, and the brewery or something?
I can't remember if it's there or it's in the Sea House, but one of the two. It's a 300 if you have a boomerang, but it's the red boomerang if you don't have one at all, if you skipped it in the castle. And I think the 100% no major glitches speedrun of the vanilla game gets its boomerang there.
It does. I've watched a couple of 100% NMG.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact reason for it. I think it's I don't remember what the exact reason is, but...
Yeah, and chat's confirming it's the brewery.
Actually, I think it's because you get the boomerang red, and... Okay, well, here's our map check.
Okay, so it is a crystal over there. The 5-6 at Thieves and Pod. Pendants at Swamp and Mire, and I believe the green pendant was T-Rock.
That's what I saw, yep. And there's our third sword.
Wow. Well, we're gonna get tempered early.
That hook
That's
shot too is a good
that,
find.
that's a pretty high pipe cave. I'd give that a solid 7, if not an 8.
Yeah, honestly, even with Pendant and Swamp, hook shot alone is a good solid 7 or 8 on its own, in my opinion. And then the sword just adds on to that. Because that's all of our East Mountain access right now. Although I think Lynn's probably going to want to try to put that off until he has mitts, if possible.
Yeah, and especially knowing for saltyphry, this is going to be his tempered. That upgrade from master to tempered is the biggest sword upgrade in the game, and really makes Skullwoods an appealing play.
Yeah, saltyphry's going to get his tempered here in Hype Cave in a sec. Lynn will get his in the well. And then he'll actually be in the Dark World right there. And go into Skull Woods on, I would assume, 6 hearts and Tempered Sword, which is pretty nice.
So yeah, sub 15-minute tempered sword. You don't see that very often.
No, but you love to see it when you do. Now, where's saltyphry going? Is he just gonna take this east or west, excuse me, over to Dig Game and Stumpy, I guess?
Yeah, as Lynn collects his fire rod. I was just thinking though, that early Cane of Samaria might not even be required.
Nope, with Turtle Rock, Mire, both pendants. I mean, there is the potential logical use for it to get the Cold Stare in Ice Palace. And obviously, Icebreaker is also a thing that Kane makes pretty nice, but yeah, not hard required unless there's progression in one of those 2 dungeons.
And with that early cape, I am a little bit curious about Bumper Ledge.
Yeah, gotta expect we'll see it on Lynn's side after Skull Woods, assuming he goes in there, but it's not gonna be terrible either way, I don't think. Especially like saltyphry here, having done his South Dark World checks already. From the village, he's got nowhere to go but east.
And the dig game was just vanilla anyway.
Yep, so Lynn only missing out on a couple pieces of heart for skipping those 2 checks in the Dark World. And I guess is this probably going to be the mountain? No, it's going to be the village here for saltyphry. So they're going to be pretty much even, with Lynn having the checks on the west side of Death Mountain, saltyphry having Stumpy and Dig Game. Other than that, pretty much on parity right now.
Lynn, I don't think there was anything in that chest, but the fact that he ignored it is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's intriguing, concerning. Take your word of choice. I don't know.
I mean, probably just forgot he didn't open it and then had blinders on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna hurt him, and you do see stuff like that from time to time, even from top runners. And it's just, it happens. They're human too. Meanwhile, we do see saltyphry here said no to Skull Woods, is in the Village of Outcasts instead.
I can see this. He doesn't have the mitts, and he already did Dig Game and Stumpy, so he could be planning to do Thieves Town and then move north to Skullwoods.
Yep, because I said earlier that the only direction they've got to go from the village is east. But unless they find a mirror, the only check they can actually get there is the Bumper Cave. So, and Bumper Cave into Skull Woods is not that bad.
I mean, you could kern jump and check Catfish that way, but that seems like a lot of effort for one check.
Yeah. Especially when you can just save and quit back to Link's house and then combine it with the pyramid afterwards.
Yeah. Hypothetically, I'm not saying it would be a good play.
Yeah, the possibility does exist, yeah.
And with Lin not having the mirror, he's going for Moth first. Makes sense. That's kind of the normal way you'd expect it. Then you Death Warp at the end.
Yep. Especially when it's a crystal that you know you're going to have to do regardless. There's no reason not to start with the Moth. Salty just showed us our first green 20 of the seed.
Which is either a male upgrade or the gold sword.
Yep. We're not deep enough in with any of the other items found for it to replace anything else.
But kind of crazy when you're already wondering whether that's the fourth sword in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, that would be 4 super generous sword placements if that's what it turned out to.
Yeah. So that's our game's first crystal, sub 20.
It's pretty good pace, especially since saltyphry gonna get his first crystal here probably within the next, what, 3 to 4 minutes-ish himself. Then Lin's gonna head down and grab the same one not very long from now.
He just really needs to watch his health. He was down to 1 heart. He used his red potion, and now he's already down to 3 hearts.
Yeah, that Hellway is pretty aptly named. Let's leave it at that, I think. Also, you know, chat's actually saying it, and chat, I think, is actually right. Oh, Book, and Mitts, I think, is go mode for these runners.
And logically, Lamp and Flippers, but who cares about logic?
Yes, especially for those 2 items. Like, if we never see the Flippers, we can't ever go down the Swamp Palace rabbit hole.
But yeah, we could very easily have Mirror in GT, we could have Flute in GT.
Yep. Ice Rod in GT, obviously. No one wants to hunt for that item. Flippers cannot be in GT, but doesn't matter very much.
Yeah, if Ice Rod shows up and Turtle Rock turns out to be Bombos, that's kind of a bad sign because it is Green Pendant.
Yeah. But that's a rabbit hole that we'll follow if and only if we come to that. Until we actually get the mitts and get a runner on Dark Death Mountain, I'm not worried. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure we've seen all 4 items in Thieves Town here, and Blind will be dropping a compass if I've been keeping track properly. I know there were 3 items in the front, and I think that was a piece of heart in the cell.
And we've definitely seen the map.
Yeah, so either I'm misremembering what was in the cell and mixing up with something Lin picked up in Skull Woods, or Blind is dropping a compass. Either way, we have to kill Blind, so it doesn't matter very much.
Hey, and remember how I said I wanted to see Bumper Ledge? What do you know, it's useful.
Hey! 2 items to go mode at 22 minutes and change. Like, that's the kind of seed that you just kind of love as a player. You get your items, you go fast, you play your game, and you play well, and it's good for you.
And it looks like saltyphry is going to be picking up a bow too.
Yep. He's gonna do the Bumper Ledge right into Skull Woods route here, which makes perfect sense doing Thieves Town first that way. Meanwhile, Lin can do this, and then he can go get Stumpy in big game after Thieves Town.
Yeah, we got a nice high 5 there as Fry heads over to Bumper Ledge and Lin headed over to Vu.
Yep. Probably not gonna be the only one of those we see this seed.
Yeah, it's not a totally linear seed, but it also hasn't opened up a huge amount.
Yeah, at this point, after they finish their respective dungeons that they're headed into, I've got to imagine that Pod and Eastern are going to be the next play for both of them. Probably Eastern first without the mirror, but...
Yeah, that's what I'd think. We haven't even seen Saha's closet yet.
No, we haven't. We've had no reason to be over in that part of the world with how stacked Escape, Kakariko, and the South Shore were.
It's just amazing when you're clearing crystals in the Dark World and there are all these Sphere 1 checks that the runners haven't done.
Yeah, because both of them skipped Ice Shroud Cave too. Agina's Cave also got orphaned as it so often does. So that's like a good, like, by regions, not so much by item counts. That's a good, like, third of Sphere 1 that was just left behind. Oh, actually, yeah, chat's reminding me. We saw Ice Shroud Cave. That's where Lin set up his water wall. I'm silly.
Though we didn't see Zora because the runners have... Neither runner has gotten to 500 rupees yet.
Yep, although Lin now is pretty close to that. Saltyphry's still a little bit off, but he hasn't been up to that region at all yet, so he's got more incentive to head over there if the dungeons don't pay out.
Yeah, I still think you do Eastern and Pod first, though.
Yeah, especially because if nothing else, both of them have rupee rooms where they can just get themselves over to 500 if they need to.
And then you have to figure out routing. Like, we can do Tower of Hera out of logic without either the lamp or the flute, but it's a long haul to get there.
It's a long haul to get there. That also comes alongside the rest of the East Death Mountain checks. So it's, after we clear out Eastern Pod, if we don't see the mitts in that region, and we don't get desert access along the way, I still expect that to probably be the next play. Of course, Lin has the save and quit point on the mountain already too, so it's an even more appealing thing for him.
And we're really only looking for the mitts and desert access, aren't we?
Yep, whether that desert access comes flute plus mirror, or it comes in the book.
I feel like just with how many checks there are in the Eastern Pod area, I mean, 3 in Eastern, 3 in Saha's Closet, 5 in Pod, that's 11 checks over there. I feel like something's gonna come up there.
Something, yes, but will it be something that actually advances us crystal-wise, or is it just gonna be a rabbit hole like mirror and flippers?
That's the question. Yeah, at this point, like, mirror is something you don't necessarily want to see. Flute at least is nice quality of life.
Yeah, flute is quality of life, and it is half of a desert access combo. So it wouldn't be terrible to see that, especially since we can't actually get to the mire area until we find mitts anyways.
Right, so if mirror turns up after flute, you don't mind as much. If mirror turns up before flute, then you start wondering.
Yeah, nothing in Saha's Closet at least, but yeah, if mirror shows up as the next item, you get a little nervous. Especially because the only checks that the mirror actually opens up without the flippers are all just strewn about in various corners of the world that you don't really want to go to. And if flippers show up, you really start getting a bit nervous about Swamp there. But we do see here, saltyphry already into Eastern Palace. Lin is clearing up some of the checks that saltyphry had previously done in the Dark World here. So saltyphry a bit ahead on the route, but is missing that Death Mountain save and quit point, which I think will equalize most of this time later.
Plus the fact that Lin did some of the flippers checks using the water walk. That's basically the time difference between these runners, those extra checks on Lin's part.
Yeah, although it does remain to be seen whether saltyphry will do those flippers checks at all this seed.
Also true, he knows it's logically required for ice, so at some point the game would expect him to get flippers, but if he turns up the mitts and the book, for instance, then he doesn't care.
Right. You know, a point of routing here on Lin's side, I expected the save and quit after Stumpy to join saltyphry in Eastern Palace, because from Eastern you can dash down to what is normally Flute Spot 5 to go to Pod. But he just ran from Stumpy all the way over to Pod, gonna do that first. It is more items, so, and with Eastern being laid out the way it is, we've already seen the map and compass. They were the first 2 checks, so potential for go mode Eastern here is kind of not trivial for once.
Well, we got ourselves a fetch quest here in Eastern.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And I wonder if either of the runners will be tempted to fake powder with that mushroom.
Yeah, we've got the cane and we've got the hammer in hand, so that is certainly a possibility. I would certainly like to see both of them do it when we're in such a strange situation as we are. But if they don't and it turns out we need the powder, it will show up at some point.
If we had a flute, I'd say, okay, this is an easy decision, at least on saltyphry's part, because he'll need to save in after Pod without the mirror to get back to the light world, and then you can just save scum the mushroom. But it's a little bit more complicated since he can't just flute to 2.
Yeah. But if you're gonna just save scum the mushroom, then Link's house and do the fake flipper over using that whirlpool right south of it is pretty good.
And Lin thought for a minute about hovering over to that ledge and didn't get very far.
Lin is not a silly person. At least not this time. He's gonna do things the way people are intended to do them.
Hey, Vanilla Big Key, good thing he didn't hover.
Yeah, especially since now it's... Well, if he does the right side here, he'll have an extra small key going into the back, which means he has the option of just hammer jumping the first time through and doing the maze in reverse, which is typically faster without a mirror. Death Warping is an option as well, though, if he wants to do that.
He also has the option of just rushing Helma King and then doing the remaining checks.
Actually, yeah, that's true, too, with the big key in hand.
Meanwhile, Salty gets a bit off track with an attempted quick kill on Armos. He will have enough arrows, just barely, and except for that mushroom, Eastern's empty.
Yeah, it had 21 rupees. That's something, right?
I'm also thinking, though, Pod is our other 5/6, so Lin could do Pyramid Fairy after this before saving and quitting back to the light world.
I think a save and quit would be faster to get back to the bomb shop for the red bomb, though, than walking out of Pod would be.
Oh, that's probably true. I was thinking Pyramid, but yeah, you have to get to the bomb shop first.
Yeah. Like, we see saltyphry here. He's going into Pod next with this. And I mean, Lin's next play out of when he finishes clearing out Pod is absolutely going to be a save and quit. 95% likely to be to Link's house, in my opinion. But whether he takes it to a mushroom save scum, a pyramid fairy check, or just directly to Eastern, who knows?
Well, Lin has to go to Eastern before he can get the mushroom.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. But I'm thinking saltyphry here, who's going into Pod now. I'm thinking 2 steps ahead. Oh, Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, that's pretty interesting. I've never seen someone clump the terrapins in the top left corner like that.
Yeah, I've never have either, and I was impressed that he knocked them all over with one hammer shot. I don't know if that was intentional on his part, but I do kind of wish we'd seen him use the sword to kill them instead of using the hammer, because that wound up flipping a few of them back over, and he didn't have sword beams at the time.
Yeah, and tempered is just as powerful as the hammer, so might have been force of habit.
Probably, but just a little unfortunate, because would have saved him a couple seconds, might have killed them all in one swipe, which would have been really cool. But he killed Helmasaur there really quick while we were talking about that. 4 compass, and a 5-6. Now we're going to see him go back into the dungeon to get the rest of the items, and then save and quit. Although I suppose it's not impossible for him to find the mirror here and then use that instead.
Yeah, there are... Did we get an item on the Bolocked side, or was it just the map?
We saw some cash there, I believe.
Okay, so there are 4 items in the back still.
Yeah, I think it's 4. It might actually be 5 though.
Lynn, however, accidentally flipped that switch and then realized you didn't want to.
Yeah, good use of the boomerang there to flip it back, because no sword beams. He could have used the bow, but you very rarely see the boomerang used to flip that switch.
And at this point, since Lynn is just saving and quitting afterwards anyway, it doesn't really matter whether he hammer yumps or not.
Yep, and might take it a step further and say that there's really, not only does it not matter, it might actually slow him down to hammer up there, especially because he did not have a small key in hand at the time. Since we've got all the keys here, Harmless Hellway is going to be something.
Ooh!
That is the best find right now.
Yeah, so now we don't need to worry about Flute and Mirror. That means that Ice can't have anything, Meyer can't have anything, TR can't have anything.
Yep, and then similarly, Dark Death Mountain, dead. Smith Chain, dead. Meyer Area, Overworld, dead. All the good stuff. Mitz is just a hard go mode for us.
And of course the map had to turn up early in Dark Maze, so we have to get the other chest and go to the big chest.
Yeah, but Lynn's navigating it pretty well here, using the sword to mark his location. So he's got it, no problem.
Useless medallion. I mean, I guess it could be useful in the GT climb.
Yeah, I mean, you don't generally see it from the top level runners, but medallion strats in the gauntlet are not terrible. And where... Oh, Lynn's going straight to desert, not even eastern, but he's taking that book and following it. I like this a lot.
Yeah, we haven't seen the desert area yet, have we?
Nope, we've had no reason whatsoever to be over here this seed before now.
So we'll get the ledge check, that's just a big 20.
Yep.
If the mitts aren't in desert, we'll see a Gina immediately afterwards, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then that save and quit over to eastern, where Lynn is going to have 5 crystals in fairly short order here, certainly before 50 minutes. Maybe before 45, depending on how things shake out.
Yeah, it's crazy that, we're going to have 4 crystals by 40 minutes for both runners.
Yeah, actually. Well, Lynn might not make it by 40, actually.
Maybe not, but pretty close.
Yeah, maybe by 41 or so he'll make it. That flute actually really doesn't mean anything to Lin here. It's a fast travel option, but pretty much everything that it opens is just in combination with the mitts, so it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, and with the boots, do you even bother?
He's got no reason to go back to the Kakariko area at all, so I don't think so. Like,
Now stop.
sorry, go on.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just remarking the saltyphry was intentionally farming rupees in Pod Rupee Basement for Zora money. Zora could still easily have the mitts.
Yep, and we do know he's actually got 100 more rupees than Lin at this point, 550, and Lin's only on about 450.
Well, I don't think Lin farmed in Rupee Basement.
No, he didn't. And he hasn't been to Eastern yet either, which had another 21. Yeah, I wasn't actually counting items in Desert. Did we find the second one beyond that flute, or?
I wasn't counting either. Because
Okay,
at this point, all that matters is where those mitts are.
Yep. But he's got to kill the Landmolas anyways. We're not going to see him menu here, so Landmo will drop what he drops. Chat's saying he got the other item too, but it's... Even if he did, he's still got to do this. Now, where's saltyphry gonna go? I'm assuming right to the desert as well, but is he quick swapping over to Hammer, or... No.
Hey, and welcome to our Raiders from SpeedGaming. You've just popped into the middle of what's probably a jet seed.
Yeah, even if it's not a jet seed, we're looking at mitts for go mode on both sides. Both runners know it. And honestly, there aren't a huge number of locations left for them to check.
No, and Lin will do Eastern, saltyphry will do Desert. They'll be up to 5 crystals probably by the 45-minute mark.
Oh yeah, minimum.
Oh, I just realized something. Flute actually puts Death Mountain in access, in logic, so now the mitts could be in Tower of Hera for all we know.
Yep, that is true. That book was not behind the lamp at all, so perfectly reasonable train of thought there. And I mean, I do expect that to be both runners' next play, between Hera being the crystal and East Death Mountain having its own set of 8 checks. But there's also the Pyramid Fairy, there's the Mushroom Turn-In, and actually, yeah, there's Catfish too. That's about it.
Yeah, so after Eastern and Desert, Death Mountain is by far the densest play.
Yeah, and between that density and it having the 6th crystal, you really expect to see it next from both runners once they finish out the dungeons they're in or on their way to.
And this is where Lin gains back a little bit of time because either saltyphry needs to go activate the flute or he needs to rescue the old man, and Lin has the save point already on the mountain.
Yep, and then on top of that, saltyphry is going to have to, well, I say he has to, he doesn't really have to, but I assume he will spend a little bit of time checking out Spectacle Rock before going over to the east side of the mountain. It's pretty standard to do. Yeah, we remember here in Eastern, 3 dungeon items in the first 3 checks, mushroom in the big chest, and honestly insulting levels of junk in the last 2 checks. So...
Yeah, our most knights had one of our 2 green rupees.
Yep, and then the detour over to the vanilla big key through the other dark rooms is just a red, which... not very exciting when you consider how many of them there are in the game.
But while they're retracing each other's steps, this is a good time to remind you to give them both a follow, because they are both really good runners.
Yep. Their links are in the Twitch chat if you're watching this on Twitch. So give them a follow. They're good, they're entertaining. You don't get to this stage of the tournament without being very good at this video game, so
Yeah, Gamachu, who will be playing the winner of this series, was saying that there are no freebie matchups at this point in the tournament, and there really aren't.
yeah, I mean, he keeps winning like there are, but he's right. He's absolutely right.
But that was specifically in reference to the fact that he's going to be playing one of these two guys next.
Yes. There's just no other word for that, but yes, he's right. Oh, and Lin going for that big key chest skip. He knows it's an item in there, but he's not going for it. It's just gonna take his crystal and presumably off to the mountain.
Oh, the big key chest had the big 20?
Yes. The big chest had the mushroom. Oh wait, did he get the big key chest?
He got the mushroom.
Yeah, chat's confusing me because now they're saying he got it, but I didn't see him go over there, and he certainly was fast out of that dungeon.
Yeah, no. I believe the first item was earlier. He then got the mushroom out of the big chest and skipped the vanilla big key chest as part of a 50-50 bet.
No, that was not a 50-50. It was map compass the first two chests, and then big key was the third.
Oh, so it did have 20. Either way. Well, we are now seeing where Lin makes up his time. Oh, but he is going to the mountain. Okay, I just didn't see him cursor there.
Yeah, fastest cursor in the west right there on the side.
And Saltyphry is not going to rescue the old man because he is not in logic still without that lamp, even though we know that the game expected us to get the lamp somewhere because it expects the lamp for pod.
Yeah, but all that means to us at this point is that lamp's not going to be on Pyramid Fairy.
Right.
But for now, I mean, with him skipping Old Man and Spectacle Rock here, they're within a screen of each other.
Yeah, so if Titans... Oh, didn't really want to see the Ice Rod, except that it can't make a difference because we can't get into Turtle Rock without the Titans mitts anyway.
Yep. That is the least climactic Ice Rod pull you'll see this tournament.
But yeah, if Titans mitts are somewhere here on the mountain, we are going to have a serious race. Ooh, flippers. Not what you want to see. Mitts could now be in swamp.
Yeah, we got to pull the mirror first for that. But
Oh, right. Forgot about the mirror.
That does put the Zora ledge into logic, though, which Lin declined to scout earlier, as well as the hobo, which we haven't seen. Yeah, we're just looking at inside Tower of Hera, which we see that they're skipping the floating island check there. That requires mitts, so it can't be the mitts. Gonna run straight over to Hera. If it's not there, then double back to Spiral Cave, I would imagine.
Ah, yes, Lin remembering to check Ether Tablet first. Salty doing the same.
I had forgotten about this location, but it's very possible here. It's not.
So yeah, where the heck are those mitts? And having taken this routing, after Tower of Hera, do you do Spike Cave or do you do Spiral Cave? It's hard to do both.
Yeah, it's a tougher decision for Lin, because he's already done the west side of the mountain, the Spec Rock checks. I think we're gonna see Spike Cave from him still, though, because it is marginally easier to get back to Spiral Cave than it is Spike Cave, even if both are kind of mediocre.
Oh, and this could be interesting. Lin is skipping our vanilla big key, which means he will not be able to open the big chest if something's in it. Saltyphry is playing much more conservatively.
I've already forgotten what was in the basement cage. Was it a dungeon item?
Basement cage was a map. Yeah. Wait.
Okay.
Oh, Lin must have opened the door while he was herapoding. That's why he doesn't have a key in his inventory.
Yes, he did. Very, very easy to do while doing a super speed herapod.
Oh, yes. But now we've got a 50-50. If Moldorm doesn't have the second item, then Saltyphry's play could pay off.
Saltyphry punished for taking the basement and playing it safe.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to decide whether you want to gamble. Sometimes the gambles pay off, sometimes they don't.
Yep, and I mean, that's part of the game here. And guaranteeing that you're not leaving an item behind here is, when you're looking for just one item, not a bad call at all. This doesn't pay out for Saltyphry here, and he gives up about a minute in that tile room.
And as we were discussing, this could be interesting divergence. Lin is doing Spiral Cave. I mean, maybe he'll go back around and do Spike Cave, or save and quit and do Spike Cave. But Saltyphry, as you said, is more likely to do Spike Cave because he can combine it with the check inside Spec Rock.
Actually,
Oh!
But I expect Saltyphry to actually do Spiral Cave first here, and then pick up Spectacle Rock and Spike Cave on the save and quit.
So about those mitts in Swamp Palace.
I mean, it's not really something that often gets joked about or brought up as a meme thing, but mitts in Swamp is a fairly standard location for them in my experience. Don't blame Lin for going for this at all, especially since he can do Pyramid Fairy right afterwards with basically no loss.
And if you're going for density, this is the densest play.
Yeah, because aside from this, I mean, he's got flipper checks left, and that's pretty much it, aside from the isolated overworld mirror slots. Although, Goomba in chat raising a good point that the cave south of the Haunted Grove, the so-called Cave 45, and the Bombos Tablet are both really close to Swamp. Could have done those first if he wanted to.
And a lot of runners, I think, in this situation would do those first, just because they're relatively quick.
Yep, but at the same time, if you feel good about the mitts being in Swamp, why waste your time on those checks instead of just going to where you think the item is?
And I think this mirror may also send Saltyphry to Swamp.
Probably yes, because he hasn't done any of the flippers checks at all, but Swamp's still his densest location. Although, oh, he's got the flute, which is why he's not saving and quitting out.
Right. Yep, flute to 4, here we go.
Yep, we'll see if he loops in those overworld checks first, or if he goes straight into Swamp as well, but we'll see.
Either way, even if... Oh, he's doing Pyramid Fairy first. Interesting. That is not what I would expect, though with the mirror it's easy enough to just flute back around.
Yeah, and this lets him route in the Pyramid Ledge itself, which is a new check for us, as well as walk it up to Catfish if he really wants to, which is not a location Lin's likely to check until he does his Pyramid Fairy check himself. So that could be an advantage, could keep him out of Swamp entirely if they show. But it's less dense.
See, I'm thinking Pyramid Fairy is less likely just because the mountain gave us both flippers and a mirror, and I feel mitts are likely to be behind at least one of those two things.
Yeah, especially since we do get logical access to it out of Palace of Darkness in the non-lamp locked section of it. So everything in logic here, but the 5-6 crystal off Helmosaur itself, not quite in logic without the lamp. So And we do see...
Well, we got...
Sorry, go on.
We got the bloomerang. That's a moral victory, right? As Lin pulls the Cane of Burna.
I mean, honestly, that 300's more interesting, I think. Although Boomerang, the blue Boomerang is convenient in Ganon's Tower if you've got to go all the way down the left side. Oh, hookshot across the river, gonna check the King's Tomb and Pyramid, or Graveyard Ledge here, excuse me.
Yeah, and then it wouldn't surprise me, given how Fry's playing this, if he goes back, does the mushroom turn in Catfish, and then the Flippers checks.
Yeah, this is... Considering the Flippers checks at the end of the route that he hasn't touched at all, this is quite efficient here from saltyphry.
Right, but we have serious divergence, so chances are one of these runners will now find the Titan's Mitts well before the other.
I'm actually... I mean, obviously, in the context of the race... No.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. In the context of the race, I do think that this qualifies as well before. But saltyphry's next play, I think, is really very likely to be Swamp Palace. So...
Yeah, so saltyphry should get his go mode in about 5 minutes, I would guess. Give or take.
Yeah, but that's 5 minutes behind Lin when Lin's on his way to his 7th crystal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be very difficult for him to catch up. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, 5 minutes isn't a huge amount. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then you figure in that Death and Escape and the coffee break in Hera, and that's gonna be half of the time difference.
Yeah, that's pretty much accurate, yeah. So it feels a little bit bad here for saltyphry, because now we know he is not going to find it. But he is going to head off to the correct place afterwards. It's just going to be a little too late.
Yeah, so it's more like, if he hadn't done those two things, the Death and Escape and the coffee break, you know, he'd still be behind, but he'd be within striking distance if something happens. Now, he'll be behind, and it would take something very much out of the ordinary for him to catch up.
Yeah, and that's... Oh, Lin, I've never... I think actually I may have seen this once before, what Lin's doing here. He did his icebreaker. He pushed the block so that he could backtrack to hit the switch. I don't really know if this saves any time at all compared to hitting the switch first and doing icebreaker.
I think it's a gamble on vanilla big key.
Oh yeah, because it does allow him to make that check first, and if the big key is there, then he just doesn't have to open the... And now he's got to do his icebreaker again. Which, with Bombus in hand, the magic considerations of having to redo icebreaker are not bad at all.
And we see that Zora Ledge was just some bombs for all that.
Yeah, the most interesting thing we could find here on Zora himself is probably the lamp.
Half magic's nice. It's not going to catch saltyphry up. It would be a bigger deal if the runners were on Master Sword still.
Yeah, if they were still on Master Sword, that half magic would be really nice with no lamp in hand, because staring down Fire Rod only Master Sword silverless? That's not a pretty proposition, no matter who you are. Well, I guess at this point we do have multiple bottles, so it wouldn't be terrible as long as they hit Torch Glitch. But Fire Rod, Torch Glitch, these guys are pretty consistent at it, but it's not free.
And it looks like saltyphry is gonna basically last location swamp here. I don't blame him, it just happens not to be the right play.
Yeah, overall, I think his checks per minute here compared to just going into Swamp is pretty comparable. I don't think it's higher by any means, but I don't think it's that far behind. It's just not going into Swamp turned out to just not be the right decision here.
I guess we need to get a prediction going as we pick up the 7th crystal.
Completed the coin collection alongside that too, so Lin's going to be on his way to GT here at the sub-hour mark. That's 7 down.
Let's just rerun the prediction from the last race. It was sitting there when I was setting up the prediction.
I like this prediction.
It was in a room with 4 chests in the last race. It was in Rando Room.
Rando Room is my favorite big key location, so obviously I am all in on a room with 4 chests.
I'm also partial to Rando Room.
I mean, obviously it gets the name because of this, but it contains literal junk. It's just bombs and arrows in vanilla, so you never see anybody detour to it. Like, even casually, I don't think you see people go into it very often.
I mean, how often do you see people go into Stalfos Room or Compass Room?
Casually? Compass Room, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's hard to get over there, but Stalfos Room for sure.
When not even bothering opening those. I mean, I guess he could find powder. And for all he knows, he could find half magic, but he doesn't feel either of those is worth spending a couple extra seconds.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely not worth with the equipment he has. He could also have found a Mitzlock lamp. There's nothing really preventing that, but again, luxury item.
So opening GT right at the hour mark, pretty nice.
Yep. You know you're doing well when you can do that. And for chat asking, the only checks in the game that we've actually seen that were lamp locked were the Helmasaur King Crystal. Oh, well.
Wow. Hope Room paid off. That's like the God Hope Room.
Yeah, small key, big key. You don't get faster than that for your Ganon's Tower basement. But to finish where I was going before that big key was found, because people in chat were asking about it, the only thing of substance that was actually locked by the lamp in this seed was the 5-6 crystal that Helmasaur dropped. Other than that, like, we are totally in lamp logic right now. Well, I like the ether medallion that we found is also behind the lamp, because that was in the big chest of Palace of Darkness. So lamp could basically be anywhere outside of Ganon's Tower and the Pyramid Fairy, which we've already seen.
Assuming neither Meyer nor TR is locked by ether.
Yes, which we don't have that information right now. We will not be getting that information at all this seed. We see saltyphry, he's going for Diver Down to avoid skipping the left side of Swamp here. Again, unfortunate because we know mitts are on the boss, but I think this makes perfect sense from him.
Yeah, I think the compass was vanilla, so he already knows there's at least one item over here.
Yep, and if that item happens to be the mitts, then you just mirror and go. You don't have to go finish the dungeon. I think that doing left side first for Pendant Swamp is a lot... I'm not going to call it better, but at least to me it feels a lot less bad, even with Diver Down, than doing it in Crystal Swamp.
With what we were saying about medallions, what is amazing is the fact that this match is going to finish and we won't have those medallions marked on the tracker. And how often do you see that?
Honestly, like, to have not seen either of them, this may be my first one. And I've seen a lot of seeds.
Yeah, I feel like maybe once or twice, but yeah, not only are they both pendants, but they didn't even get checked.
Yeah, like, that's a rarity among rarities as far as Rando goes.
And unfortunately for saltyphry, all he got for his left side excursion was a piece of heart.
Yeah, Piece of Heart also would have gotten Peace of Mind if he wasn't like a minute or so away from an Argus that was about to drop his go mode, but so it goes. And yeah, we haven't really been talking about Lin's GT climb at all, but spoilers, it was fast. Oh, he's actually setting up for fake powder here. He's gonna fake powder the anti-fairy and the bunny beam here to get his health refill. Except he didn't cane properly, so now there you go.
Yeah, that is also not something you see on a regular basis, but it sure works when you can do it. But
it is something I absolutely love to see, just because it does require good presence of mind from the runner to realize that's an option and set up for it properly.
And that's such a great room to do it into with a full magic refill. Hey, final fetch quest just for kicks.
Yep, putting a shovel in the post-mortem chest. We will learn what that is, actually. The credits will tell us.
That's true.
But we're not gonna go check it. Meanwhile, saltyphry, he's in go mode here. He's on his... Oh, I don't know why you went to Link's house. Oh, no, because he never saved the old man. He had to go to Link's house.
Right. Another thing you don't see that often, and that was a great triple by Lin.
Almost a double triple, but couldn't get that sword swing out fast enough. And there you... Oh, I guess one of those only counted for a single.
One of those days when you open with a triple and it winds up being a 4-cycle anyway.
I'm pretty sure that that first one wasn't a triple. Like, it looked like it, but...
Oh, I think the second one wasn't a double.
Oh, that's possible too. But regardless, one of those hits didn't count, which means he needed the 4-cycle, but now we're off to Ganon. So, Ganon fight, for people who are less familiar with it, get your 2 hits at the start here, and then 3 hits, charge your spin attack, bounce off the Triton while spinning to get your spin to hit Ganon twice, and you get a free 1-cycle on phase 1. And then phase 2 pretty much depends on where he sets up, but Lin's using the dash strats here, going for that extra double spin, and ouch.
Well, good for him that he has such a lead.
Yeah, saltyphry is in his 7th crystal dungeon, but don't think he finishes it before Lin finishes here, even with that death.
Yeah, and even with the God Hope room, I mean, saltyphry's got a ways to go.
Yeah, he's gotta just climb that tower. Not the end of the world. Lin took another hit there, decides to down his potion instead of relying on a cape or similar strat. Nice.
Wow, that was a nice bonk over the fire bats.
Yeah, little known fact, just like with the hook shot, you are invincible while bonking.
And Lin is taking a lot of fire bats to the face. Fortunately, they're only doing 2 hearts damage.
Yeah, and he's not really set up in any position where it's a danger of them knocking him into the hole yet.
What a surprise! The arrows are on planet Zebus!
Oh no, we haven't been seeing that all tournament or anything. Although, do you see how clean that torch glitch was from Lin?
Yeah, no, he just casually kind of swung the fire rod down there and it hit at exactly the right time.
Yeah, you see that sometimes, but like I said, that is not free with the fire rod. Meanwhile, the saltyphry's got 7 crystals there. He's going to head up to Ganon's tower, but Lin's already about halfway through this fight, give or take. Yeah, did I say halfway? I didn't.
A bit more than halfway.
Yeah, I didn't mean it.
GG's to Linlinlin.
Yep, that'll put him 1-0 up. We will see these runners play game 2 of this series tomorrow. Saltyphry gonna keep going. We'll watch him climb Ganon Sour here.
Yeah, so they have a pretty regular schedule. Game 2, same time tomorrow. If Saltyfry comes back and wins that, Game 3, same time Thursday. And we are joined by Linlinlin. GG.
GG's.
Jet Seed much?
Yes.
So, so I don't know if you got a chance to chat with Saltyfry.
No, not really.
Okay. Do you know what the key play was on your part?
I mean, just going to Swamp when I was given all the keys to Swamp. That's it. That's pretty much it. I was like, you can't give me all those items and not put the mitts in Swamp. That's not possible. That's why I didn't even bother with Bamboo Salad. I was like, no, like you can't do that game.
Yeah, and then like on Saltyfry's side, we saw he did all the flippers and mirror checks before going into Swamp, and that was just a good chunk of time.
I mean, there was that. Like, I had Pyramid Fairy technically open, not in logic without the lamp, and that's why, since the flute was completely in logic with the book being in the pod basement, I'm like, okay, the mountain is completely in logic, and like everything I have is just in logic. But I don't have a lamp, so I don't want to do Pyramid Fairy. So that's why I just didn't bother with those checks.
Yeah, and I think that makes perfect sense. A couple people in chat were talking about that too, like at the time. So
I'm not sure I ever knew what Zora says when it gives half magic.
well, now you do.
Yeah, that was kind of cute.
About blinds, I knew about it. Because I am using it on the track, and I was like, why is this lit? So I skimmed my VOD, and I was like, oh, okay. I'll open that when I come back. When I go back, I never went back.
Oh, right. Yeah, you were lucky it was nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. You see people do it from time to time. We did see on your credit say that shovel was bombs, by the way.
You just think about your next move sometimes, and you're just kind of autopilot and you're not looking at the screen. You're just thinking, and like, yeah, that just was closed. But I mean, it didn't hurt me, thankfully. Yeah, when I was mid for go move so early, I even had the King of Samaria. I'm like, huh. Okay, guess I'm gonna do all my dungeons.
Yeah, and I mean, that was pretty much the way this seed. You get everything in the overworld in your Sphere 1 locations.
Aside from the
rest
boat.
was in dungeons. Oh, yeah.
Aside from the boat.
Yeah.
That's it.
But with how it handed the cane to you, the cape to you, it felt like there had to be something on Bumper Ledge anyway.
Yeah, and like, Sickit had the fire rod. I was kind of mad at that bottle that was in CAC because I went South Throw first and I found one. And then there was another one in CAC. So I found the fire rod first. I was like, great, my rod is working. I have a fire rod, but there was another bottle in CAC. And I was a bit mad that I found that one.
Yeah, that's the game you play with late Kakariko routing. I'm personally a big fan of it, but sometimes it doesn't really go to plan.
The thing is, like, even without the fire rod, like, when you're given the glove and the hammer so early, I kind of tend to want to come to CAC from the south.
Yeah,
so I can jump in the Dark World after I'm done with CAC.
Yeah, especially if the pearl's there, or if you can find the pearl at like South Shore first, like you did here.
And I have a tempered and a fire rod, so like, and Skull with the crystal, so let's go. And then the road is just like, just go to dungeons and do stuff on the way, and then Death Mountain.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll let that hour and 8 times speak for itself on how well that worked out for you.
I haven't took a death on Ganon.
Yeah,
I
is
feel
one of
pretty
the
bad
few-
about it. But yeah. Played the second fire safer.
Yeah, using that potion kind of early was a bit of a signal for that. But fire bats are a little annoying.
Oh, by the way, seeing saltyphry in this room, nice fake powder on the anti-fairy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never done it that mushroom, so I figured, sure, let's just do it. I'm
Yeah.
kind of low. I want a full refill.
And just being able to remember that you have that option available to you when you're climbing the tower, getting yourself mentally ready for your Agatu, your Ganon. But yeah, saltyphry pretty quick up Ganon's tower here. We kind of didn't talk about it all because we were talking to you instead, Lynn, but he's up at Agatu now. That was definitely a triple. I heard the sound 3 times.
Yep, that's definitely true.
And that was definitely a single.
And yeah, there was a blue ball here, which kept him from getting the double, so 4 cycle. Same Agatu for both of you.
Getting his bonk count up too, because why not?
Yeah, I mean, what is the bonk count besides a number anyways? Why does everybody try to keep it so low? I don't get it.
Lynn, you have any insight?
I'll just stick with Salty and get his impressions as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Once he finishes his gaming fight here, we'll see if he's willing to join us. We saw you bonk to get out of that fire bat circle there when we see the hook shot instead. Iframes or iframes, take your pick.
Oh, right. I just realized this is a totally different Ganon pattern than what we saw from Lin, because once you take a death on Ganon, the pattern changes.
Yeah, the saltyphry didn't get a 1 cycle on phase 1, I don't think, which means that he's still finished phase 2 up in the top right. Or top left, excuse me. Directions are very hard today. Yeah, just missing a couple spins here and there, but just taking them, find your rhythm, stick with it. I think probably, what, 4-ish before he's done now?
Yeah, just can't take another hit is the only thing.
Yeah, no fairies to be had this seed, no bug net to capture them. Pyramid Fairy wasn't giving them away. I think saltyphry checked the Waterfall Fairy, also not giving them away. But that's
There we go.
Oh, GG once he crosses the bridge.
So he winds up with a 1:17:06, exactly 9 minutes behind Lin.
And we are now joined by saltyphry, so GG.
GG.
GG, man.
Yeah, it was interesting. Personally, I always hate really jet seeds like this because inevitably I do something like this to kind of screw it up. Finished with a pretty solid time overall, but I realized I left like anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes easily on the table in the end. Like, I figured we both kind of did similar things before going up to Death Mountain and full clearing that, and then at that point in time, it's just kind of whether you go into Swamp right away or not. I remember kind of even thinking as I was taking the big bomb to the pyramid, I'm like, well, this is kind of the flip right here. It's either I can check these 10 or 12 locations in the overworld right here, or go to swamp here, and whichever one has those myths is probably going to determine it, right?
But yeah, it all came down to that. Personally, I said it earlier, like without the lamp, I wasn't feeling Pyramid Fairy that much. So and I was like, game, you can't just give me those items and not put the myth and so on, right?
That's very true. Well, the thing is I don't actually really pay attention to what the 5-6 crystals are. I just kind of look at my menu randomly and see if I have 5-6 crystals. So, so I guess pod, or I guess
yeah, that was pod. It was pod.
Yeah, because I did notice that none of them were in the light world, so I knew that for sure. So yeah, I just kind of saw I had both of them, and I'm like, all right, so that's Pyramid Fairy, Pyramid, Graveyard, Ledge, Mushroom, King's Tomb, Catfish, Zora, Waterfall, all that stuff. Like that adds up to quite a bit there, right? And you can all do it in a nice kind of line there, and so I decided to go for that instead. At the same time, I don't know if with the 7-minute difference if that would have made a difference in the end. In the end, I didn't really feel like I played that great, which is the other nice thing. Like I like to look on the positive side here. Like I didn't play that great, and frankly, it probably didn't make a difference in the end either, which is nice. So hopefully, I out of my A game tomorrow, and where it might make a difference instead.
You guys should watch the VOD back, because going through Paradox Cave, you were neck and neck.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by that. Like leading up to that, like I guess we both kind of had 6 crystals done at that point, or 5 or 6 crystals without Hera, and yeah.
Did you skip Vanilla Big Key Chest in Eastern? Because I totally did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I'm always
like, the whole
that's
mountain.
one of those plays that I don't really make. I don't know. It's kind of.
I mean, that's the thing about that seed is like usually I think my playstyle is kind of like super conservative, but in this seed I felt like there's no way I'm checking that right. I have the whole mountain open, like
you skipped
in logic.
Guaranteed item, Lynn. Like map and compass were the first 2 checks in Eastern there.
Yeah, I know. And then they.
I guess I didn't have
I was
the-
still debating at that point, like.
Yeah, I didn't have the flute at that point in time, so technically the mountain wasn't in logic at that point in time.
Yeah.
I actually did
flute,
Eastern before. I did Eastern and then Pod, kind of, so I kind of do them at the same time, sort of, as easily as possible without the mirror, which is a pain in the ass in general.
Yeah, so I guess the other thing, just once you got up the mountain, saltyphry, you got the big key in case there was something in the big chest. Lynn, you took the risk of skipping it. Can you guys discuss that that choice?
I was going back.
It always feels bad when you go down there. I don't know. At that point, I kind of felt like I was committed to kind of full clearing it at that point in time, because did I have the mirror yet at that point? No, I didn't. I would have gotten that afterwards, right? Because so getting back up there was going to be a real pain one way or another. So I didn't really want to have to come back.
That's the thing. I was going back, and if I didn't get the mirror in Spiral Cave, I was going for Spike Cave as well. But I got the mirror, so nope. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah, that was so disappointing. Like I just figured for sure, like, oh, we're gonna go up the mountain, get the mitts, and this seed's gonna be super, super fast. And you go up there and you get the flippers, and then the mirror, and you're just like, oh, really? Is that really how this is actually gonna go?
Yeah, because this seed, like for Lynn, it's probably what, like a 102 if the mitts are just on the mountain. Maybe
probably even less. I want to say, like,
well,
probably kind of long.
The same for saltyphry if the mitts are on the mountain, right? They were climbing the mountain at the same time.
You guys don't have room to diverge after that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like I had 6 crystals kind of about 15 minutes in, so at that point in time, you just have ice and GT. Like, how long do those take? Especially with the GT big key.
That's the thing. Even if you get them like in Paradox Cave, I think you still have to climb to Hera because you don't have a mirror at that point.
Yeah, I was doing Hera regardless at that point in time. It's like I knew straight up, like, this isn't a situation where you can just mirror in front of GT and do Hera. I remember one time I actually completely forgot about that in a situation like that where I didn't have the mirror, and I climbed up there and got to front of GT. I'm like, oh crap! Had to completely climb the mountain again.
But yeah, I was going to Hera regardless, so I was like, let's just go. Like, I have to do it. Like, the mirror might not even show up in that seat, but it did. So.
Well, I guess you guys get to do this all over again tomorrow, right?
Yep, same time.
Yeah, same time.
Hopefully I play a little better. Hopefully I don't almost last location in the midst. Well, generally last location in the midst isn't really a problem unless it's kind of your go mode item like this. If it's kind of a last location, you still got 1 or 2 things to find. It's usually not that bad, but this one, yeah, it wasn't really great. You could have gotten it much earlier, obviously.
Of course. Really, you guys are just competing to see who can face Gamachu in the next round, which has got to be a little bit intimidating.
Hey, every match is intimidating at this point in time, so it's nothing, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of the opinion that the tournament's been that almost since the group stage, kind of. But definitely getting even more so as we just continue to progress and people keep getting knocked out.
I do my best not even to think too much about the level of the competition and just kind of do my own thing. Like, even as I don't really, after about the hour mark, I always close down, or at least I minimize the little race time things. I don't know where I'm at. And then I just kind of assume things are close and try to play my best at that way. And just kind of leave it at that.
I also do that, but I do that when I'm got 7th crystals, because I know I'm not that far behind, and like, even if GTB key is just bad, I'm like,
and I figure if anything like that happens is going to happen kind of earlier on, that's going to like catastrophically make the race have to end, and I'll be around still for that point in time. Like after an hour, what's the likelihood that someone really crashes and you have to restart or something like that, right? So it is what it is.
I love that 10 out of 13 tempered sword boss stat. We didn't even discuss that, but you guys must have been happy with the 15-minute tempered.
Well, all that happened so fast early on. Like early on, yeah, we were just getting stuff left and right. Like right up until the point we got the book, more or less, it felt like everything was just kind of getting thrown at us. Or I guess even the flute after that a little bit. But up to the book, like you didn't really need the flute, I guess. But yeah, and then it was just from that time from the book to the midst, it just felt terrible, which might almost be just about as long as the time from the start of the race to the midst, to the book.
I never activated the flute because like I went to the mountain super early, so I had that save and quit there already, and then I had no reason to go back to Kakariko at all, so I just didn't activate the flute.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never even bothered actually doing the old man just because I never had the lamp, and I'm like, it's not logic at this point in time. I was more interested in going to the volume over at Paradox Cave. I kind of figured, I'm like, more likely the mitts are going to be there, and we all know how that played out.
Yeah, but so it goes.
That's random. I mean, and I don't really get salty about it in spite of my name. That's just kind of a title more than anything. Yeah. I'm really a very chill guy, and like I really just kind of looked at the best of everything, so it is what it is.
Yep, just gotta let it go. Play your game next time and see how that one turns out for you.
I've been through so many of these at this point in time. It is what it is. I win some, I lose some. Eventually I'm going to lose, I know that, so it is. It's fine.
I'll be looking forward to seeing tomorrow's. So, should be another good one, I think, from both of you, really.
And my big thing is I just hope I play a little better tomorrow. Overall, my play was a little iffier today. I mean, starting from dying right at the very start to the fallen chain guard. That was kind of a little iffy, but I mean, in the end, it didn't feel like it made a difference, which really kind of makes me feel a lot better about the whole situation.
Yeah, and I thought that you recovered from that pretty well. I didn't notice any like really clear signs of distress coming from that in your play afterwards, so...
Yeah, there was always just a little few things. I wasn't exactly super happy with my GT climb. I felt like that could have been 20 or 30 seconds faster maybe. So just little things like that I just kind of look at, right? Like I always got little time marks that I look at on certain things like that.
Yeah, and the small things do add up, which is why it's always worth trying to just pick those out and clean them up.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I always finish up as well, just for the extra practice as well.
Ultimately, though, looking at your relative collection rates and knowing how much extra stuff you did, saltyphry, between getting the mirror and getting the mitts, you were actually zipping through the seed faster. You would have had a lower collection rate if you had gone straight to swamp as well.
That's interesting. I felt like I did most things, so I'm not really sure what else I skipped. I guess I skipped Ice Rod Cave once I got that moon crawl. It's like, that kind of felt like something I could do to kind of make up that little bit of time that I lost by dying to the ball and chain guard right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure where else there was. I mean, I guess you didn't rescue the old man, so you didn't get his item either.
And I think that's really maybe a couple of other like freestanding items that.
Yeah, I guess a lot of the things I would have checked, like Pyramid and Graveyard Ledge and the Zora Ledge, all those things, obviously it wasn't picking up anything, right?
Yeah.
So those are things I checked that don't actually add up to that number there.
Yeah, collection rate not always the most indicative of things because of that, but always still just a fun little stat to look at too.
Yeah, for sure. Some people are more likely to skip hearts than others as well, and some people route dungeons slightly better where they don't have to get as many keys sometimes. There's a lot of little things that can go into that.
Anyway, we should probably wrap this up.
Yep, I'm looking over the schedule for the rest of the night. The only thing we've got on tap for tonight is we've got a pair of matches starting at 9:10 p.m. Eastern, which is about an hour and a half from now. And we've got the Boulder versus Allison on Speed Gaming 2 and GFE versus Blaine on this channel, Speed Gaming 4. So obviously, I'm not going to say check them both out because they're both at the same time. Watching two races at once is hard, but check them out.
Yeah, and GFE versus Blaine is a game 3. I believe the match notes for that says win or be free. And Allison versus the Boulder got an upset victory in their first match, so it'll be very interesting to see whether he can complete the sweep or Allison starts a comeback.
Yep, and then tomorrow's schedule actually starts at 6:10 p.m. Eastern with Game 2 of this series, Linlinlin vs. saltyphry, and then a couple others throughout that evening. Restream information is all still to be determined, but you can expect to see them either on one of the Speed Gaming channels here or on ALTTP Randomizer.
And once again, do give our runners a follow and be sure to tune into that match of theirs tomorrow. And also, thank you to our tracker, Akuhaish. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But they did a great job of keeping up with this jet seed. And Reg, I'm really glad we finally got to do comms together again.
Yep, it really fun seed to watch and think through. Obviously, it being the jet that it was, especially in the early game, means that there's a ton of it that we didn't see. I mean, you look at those trackers along the bottom, and you do see 8 out of those 10 dungeons lit up. So even for the hour 8 and hour 17 finish times that we had, still got to see a lot of the game. But yeah, it was a blast for sure.
Yeah, so I think that'll do it. Enjoy your evening or afternoon or night, wherever you may be, and check back in here or on Speed Gaming 2 in an hour and a half.
Yep. And we'll see you guys some other race.